Welcome back to the Educator's Room podcast, a place for educators everywhere, regardless of grade level or content area. Put down your grade books and grab a glass of wine and learn with our host, Francesca. Welcome, everybody, to Season 3, Episode 2 of the Educator's Room podcast. I'm your host, Fran Warren, and today we have Mr. Joe Dombrowski, a.k.a. Mr. D. Hey, Joe.
Hey, thanks for having me today.
Thanks for being on the show. Okay, guys, if you have not heard of him, then you're probably under a rock. He was on the Ellen Show. He's been all over the internet with these super cool things he does in his class. Mr. D, can you give me 1 minute and tell everybody how you call the kids when they're ready to go from recess?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So we're all at recess. The kids are all out there. They're playing and I need them to come in. So I just go, caw, caw, caw. And then they all line up when they're there. Those are my babies. They know what to do. My baby birds.
They're like, yes, that's our sound. It's time for us to go.
For sure. There's no whistle needed. Ditch the whistle. We're good.
So our podcast today is going to talk about how teaching can be cool. Guys, we are at times in education where everything is test. Everything is so serious. And what I really liked about Mr. D was he is innovative and, you know, the things that he's doing, it made me smile. So can you take a second, Mr. D, and tell us your education background, where you're from, and why you got into teaching?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a graduate of Central Michigan University, where I did my bachelor's work in elementary education, and I did my master's at Oakland University, where I studied educational administration. I got into teaching. I was in college and started to do some volunteer work with the Serious Fun Network, which are various summer camps that send children to camp completely free of charge. Went in and volunteered in person, and when I was able to see kids with such severe setbacks have fun and enjoy themselves and not worry about the cares that were happening in the world, that's when I said to myself, I can do this forever and I can do this as a teacher. So that's really what put me into the classroom now. And, you know, like I said, seeing those students have fun and leave their cares behind them, that is my teaching philosophy. I've said time and time again that my goal is to make teaching and school a place where kids want to be, not where they have to be. And I want kids to look forward coming to school and coming to my classroom, because when they can enjoy where they're at, we're building that relationship to have that fun, exciting environment, and that's just only going to enhance their learning as we go along throughout the year. So that's me in a nutshell.
That's so cool. You know, I always ask, well, we always talk about one of the things that I think as new teachers, how many years have you been teaching?
So this is my 5th year.
5th year. Okay, so you're almost over the hump. A lot of teachers, a lot of people, according to the statistics, people are not getting into teaching. And it's so refreshing to hear somebody who's almost at their 5-year mark, who's saying, no, I love it. This is fun. And so what advice would you give that new teacher not even that new teacher, that person in college who is ending their last semester before student teaching, and they're having those second thoughts of, well, maybe I don't need to teach. What can schools do that can hopefully get those teachers back into the teaching field?
Yeah, so there's like a few things that I think in that sentence right there. And the thing is we need great, passionate, positive teachers in our classrooms. So if I'm thinking about new teacher programs, you know, I'm looking for those great, passionate people who truly desire to be in the classroom. And, you know, you mentioned teacher burnout, and that usually happens around like 5-6 years. And that's true. That does happen. And, you know, when students are experiencing that thought of like, is this for me? I can totally tell you, I didn't have that feeling, and I know a lot of great teachers who also didn't have that feeling. You know, if a student is questioning that might be a time to ask if this is really for you, but in a different way. There are so many outlets for education where we need amazing teachers, and people really need to look at, you know, it's not just a general education classroom teacher. We have deaf education, special education, gifted and talented. There's adult education. There are so many different avenues that someone can go where it doesn't have to be, you know, the typical American teachers people just think, you know, is the only thing that you can do with teaching. And there are so many things that you can do with your education education degree to better the climate for American education, which is great. So it's not a fact of like, get out of it while you can. It's a fact of, okay, maybe my thought of education is not really what I wanted to do, but where can I still make this impact and get my personal gratification out of it as well? Because ultimately, we need teachers to be happy with where they are if students are going to be happy with where they are. So we want those people to love what they're doing just like we do. So, yeah.
And that's such an important point, because you're taught in your teacher preparation programs that teaching is it. Like, teach, teach, teach. But you're right. There's other avenues that you can take that will bring you just as much joy. And so I totally agree. Like, that's one of the reasons I started this blog, was because I needed an outlet. I needed something to make me happy again about teaching. And so I get it. Like, that is phenomenal. So let me go ahead.
And that's really, too, what I started to do. I was hearing this from people, too, and people were commenting on my style of teaching. And when I was in my master's program about 2 years ago, they started talking a lot about social media and education, and I really fell in love with that aspect. And, I started my Instagram, and it all took out from there, went off with all my other social media platforms, and things really started to take off. And that's really what I'm doing, is I'm showing, not everybody's in the classroom, but a lot of people don't see what actually happens in those walls, and that's what I'm doing. I'm expressing what and showing what I do so other people can see, this is just one way of teaching, and you can do this if this is you. So it's just kind of inspiring and doing that along the way.
Yeah. And I wish, let's go a little deeper into the teacher preparation programs, because I kind of think like there needs to be a class on how do you re-engage somebody in the art of teaching. And social media is like social media is huge. And I'm not talking like social media where you're just kind of clipping like photos of your class, but like bring people into your world. Like, what happens day to day? Like, what are the highs, the lows? So people can get, like, teaching is a lot of fun. You might have bad days, but for the most part, it's fun. So if you could teach a class on social media and teaching, what would you have students do so they understood like your life, the students' lives, and like teaching as a whole?
Well, it's so funny that you said that, because I've actually been presenting at various conferences lately on just this topic, social media in the classroom.
Yes.
And what people don't realize is social media in the classroom, it's really not for me.
Right.
It's truly not. Who's benefiting from this? Well, first of all, the biggest people who are benefiting from my social media are the parents of our school and our classroom.
Right.
They're able to log on there, and they're just scrolling through their own Instagrams, and they happen to see their kid, and they're like, oh my God, that's my kid in real time doing real learning right now, and they love that. Mm-hmm. Also, they can do exactly what your email can. Parents can message me. I can message them on there. And then who else? The kids. We always talk about making their work visible in the classroom. Hey, I'm making your work visible to the world, and people are commenting back on what you just did, and now you're able to really see how great of a job you're truly doing. Yeah. So it's more than just like, hey, this is me, Joe Dombrowski, Mr. D, and this is what I do. It's here's what my kids do. I'm doing this for them. I'm doing this for my parents, and I'm doing this for other teachers. So social media in the classroom. And the other thing with social media in the classroom is it is a tool for learning.
Yes.
Social media is just that. It's media. And when students can first learn how to appropriately use it, there's so much they can learn.
Right.
We were doing different biome reports and things like that. And my students got on social media on Instagram, and they were looking at people from Africa, Asia, different countries. What did it look like around there? They were exploring and learning. And, that's what we do as adults. So teach kids how to navigate through that so they can do it when they're in high school and college.
And that's such an important, because the naysayers will say, oh my God, I would never have my kids on social media. But right. I mean, just talking to you, I'm sure that you did the legal things necessary to have your students on the internet. And as long as no kids are being exploited, some teachers, I think sometimes it's a learning curve for teachers. Like if they don't get on Instagram, or if they don't get on Snapchat, or if they don't get on Facebook, they don't understand the learning that can happen, and the worldwide exposure, and just the myth you break every day by just showing people in your class.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you said that, because I get that a lot from my followers. They say, is this illegal? How are you doing this? And I actually, in the very first day of school every year, I have my parents, I ask them to sign a social media release form that was approved by my district, and they're all totally on board. Like, they love it. I would never do that. There have been parents who denied, and those students, are not shown or are blurred out. And, I would never, ever, exploit a child in that way.
Right.
But, ultimately, it's how much learning they can do from this that really sets it apart. And social media in the classroom, you're right, it's not for everybody, but if you don't have to have it and do it, but if you have an account and you're viewing it and you're watching all these other teachers and you're watching how they learn, that's free professional development right there,
Yes. So let me ask you this. So I'm a new teacher. I'm going to start in August, and I'm really into social media. Let's talk about what are some of the things that you would tell them to do to start like a channel like yours. Like, all the things like signing up for a password, we know that. But like, what are some of the things that they need to think about now so that in August they can start a channel, or they can start a medium, or they can, approach this subject of social media in the classroom?
Well, the first thing the most important thing is to make sure that you have approval and the right outlets to do this, first of all. Some schools, unfortunately, might not be so willing to accept this for their building, which to me is a little bit sad, because there's so much learning that can happen there.
Right.
But my biggest advice is, if you're going to go into this and you're going to do this, you need to be yourself. Show off what makes you unique as a teacher. Don't go in there and only post brand new things that you're doing and how exciting your classroom looks. If it's organically you, it will come off as true, and that's what people are going to enjoy. You're learning from all these other teachers too, and they want to learn from you. So show off your organic self and stay true to who you are, and you'd be surprised at where that can take you.
Yes. And I think you brought up a good point, because teacher to teacher, there are lots of teacher entrepreneurs out there who are selling on, TPT, all kinds of other things. And they have these Instagrams that show like a perfect life. Like, it's like, oh, look at that. Oh, that's so pretty. Oh, and that's not what teaching is.
Yeah, that's true too. Definitely not going to knock Teachers Pay Teachers. There is some great stuff on there, but unfortunately, we all know that there are some things on there that are just filler. And there are some accounts on there that definitely are just promoting their work to make a buck. But you know what? I don't doubt that at all, because let's be real, every teacher has their side hustle.
Exactly.
We all need it.
Exactly.
Right? All need it. And that's great. So you just got to be careful on what you're buying, but also, you got to be careful about what you're putting on your social media. Are you doing it for the kids, or is this your business, know?
Yeah. And, it's a good point, because the takeaway isn't so much, for teachers having businesses, I'm all for that, because God knows we don't make enough money. I'm more interested in, like, when I look at Instagram accounts and everything looks perfect, like, it's like the perfect flat lay of the materials for the day. It's like perfect. And I'm like, my day doesn't look like that. I kudos to people that it does, but my day is kind of crazy. So
where's the real, right?
Yeah.
Where's it at? And that's actually people have told me about that. I actually did a video the other day, and I wasn't able to complete it because I had so many questions come in after I posted it. So I'm going to be doing a part 2 of advice for new teachers. And one of the questions that I got last night, which I loved, was describe a time that didn't work out so well for you. And I was like, this is a perfect opportunity for me to be raw and explain things that can happen, because no day is perfect. Something's going to go wrong, and it's all about, fixing it on the fly. That's teaching.
Yeah. And that, that's, yeah. So true. So let me ask you this. So let's talk about the legal aspect. What did you talked to all the parents, you had them sign a waiver. Were parents like really curious, or did they already know because you've been in the classroom for 5 years and they've seen your Instagram? Like, do parents ask a lot of questions?
So it's definitely, eased up over the years, because parents are expecting it once they come into my classroom. I'm expecting that to be even more now with the publicity that I've been getting on social media. Parents, everybody in the school knows that I've been on Ellen, and they see the social media pages, so they're for sure expecting it. But when I first started, it was all how I pitched it to them. And I had it ready to go at our very first curriculum night, which was the first week of school. And I just showed them exactly what I had been doing. I told them my plans. I listened to their concerns, and I answered all of their questions and made sure that I was very, very thorough on what I was doing and why. And I, still at the end of the day, there were some parents who had some very strong reasons as to why they were opting out of that. And that is more than fine, because that is their child, and I get it. But for the most part, most of the families that year were completely on board, and they really, really enjoyed it. And it's been about 2 years since I've had anyone decline.
Wow, that's super cool. Like, yeah, it's awesome. I think it's like the new age of teaching. So I have to ask, because we see it time and time again, there are teachers who will get on social media and it's completely inappropriate. Like, it's like you find those videos and it's on the news and XYZ. And I try to tell people, there's bad bunches everywhere, and good people make bad decisions all the time. So I guess I have to ask you, for you, what's your personal judgment call about what to put on the internet and what not?
Every post that I put out there, I think first, I put myself in the shoes of a parent in my classroom, and I say, would they appreciate their child being shown in this? I'm obviously never taking something intentionally for that reason, but I like to look at all my posts through that light. Like, what would my parents say? What will my parents say when they view this? And, if there's anything at all that I question in any way, I will not post it, because I don't, even if a parent would accept that, I wouldn't want another parent to say, oh, hey, like, what's this about? So I really use that filter before I post. I look at things, I reread what I'm going to write for the tag and everything like that, and then I move forward with posting. But you are so right. You have to be so careful. But, when we think about it, as teachers to begin with, we really are a public figure to the community. We get stopped at the grocery store. Everywhere you go, you know somebody around who knows that you're a teacher at that school. So, to be honest, just living that life as is, it's really no different. Now it's just like in one more new platform.
Yes. So let me ask you this. So we've talked about the social media, the do's and don'ts. How did you get on Ellen? Like, how does a teacher get on Ellen? I mean, she loves teachers. We know this. But how did it happen? Was it just the social media?
Yeah, so I actually had a video. I gave a fake spelling test on April Fools to my students, where I made up a bunch of fake words. And at the end I said, April Fools, and they had like really hilarious reactions throughout the whole thing. And that went viral. So I went to bed, I woke up the next morning, it had 1 million views, and by the end of that day it had 20 million views, and 3 days later I got a call to be on Ellen, which was just insanity. And the kids were, oh my gosh, they think they're famous, which to me they totally are. They're the reason this happened, and they are milking this for all that it's worth. It's amazing. So that's how I did it. Ellen puts teachers up on her episodes for many different reasons. But what really surprised me is when she called me back to come on the second time.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I really realized that she was really invested in what I'm doing in the classroom. And the moments that we've had together, she really likes what I'm doing, and she really appreciates that I'm inspiring other teachers to be the best teacher they could be. So I'm back at her, I'm so grateful to have been given a larger platform to continue to inspire.
Wow, that's so cool. So,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, I'm just like, oh my gosh. So question, how did your principal feel about you being on? Like, was there ever like I don't think you should do this, or like, what was it like?
So my principal is extremely supportive of teachers trying new things in the classroom. He lets us be very involved in the decision making that happens all over. So he was very apt to my social media to begin with. He thought it was cool. He thought I was doing something new and innovative. And when the Ellen opportunity came up, he was just, yeah, totally. Like, this is great. Let's go with it. Let's do it. So I had a lot of support from him. What I really appreciate about him and letting us be creative like this is he truly, truly, truly respects his teachers when we fail, which is great, because he has looked us in the face. He said, this didn't work. Why? and we'll talk about it, and he'll say, I really appreciate you taking a chance to try something new. Let's work on it to make it better for next time. And, it's just like learning. What is learning with our students? When they fail, they learn the best.
Yes.
And our boss is not afraid to let us take risks because, without risk, there's no reward. And sometimes there's failures, and that's okay. So he's been awesome, extremely supportive.
And one of the crazy things is that so many times we're told, like, oh, don't fail. Like, no, that's like, it's okay to fail. That's how you learn.
And that's really how he runs our building. It's amazing how much he makes sure that the teachers know that we are, a strong heartbeat to that school. And when, I feel as though we can go to him with any idea. Yeah, I actually went with him with an idea this summer. I read about a Lunchtime DJ program that I read about in the book Kids Deserve It. And he totally let me run with that. So now we have a DJ booth on stage on Fridays. We spin tunes with the kids. They come up, they're guest DJs with me. A parent actually made a new DJ booth with LED lights and our logo and stuff.
Oh,
and we turn the lights out, and he's so supportive of it. And he even said it, a couple weeks ago. He's like, Joe, our behavior issues at lunchtime have completely decreased from last year. He's like,
wow.
Great, Chris, awesome job. So to have that support and to be able to just express my creative outlet and know that I'm supported, it's money. It's great.
So shout out to your principal. Shout out to your principal, because he's fabulous. Because I'm not going to say most, but I've heard horror stories. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I totally understand that many administrators are not open to the same ideas that he is. As I said in the beginning, I have my master's in educational administration, and I intend to run my ship the same way, where teachers are supported, and I just want them to be the best teachers they can be. And in order to do that, they need to take risks as well. So I'm learning from him what to do as well.
So let's talk about this DJ booth, because that is like, oh my God.
It's really great.
Okay, tell us about it first off. Tell us all about it.
So we had last year, lunchtime behavior issues were definitely on the increase, and we really wanted to figure out how to stop that. So I did a lot of professional reading this summer to figure out what it was. And in this book, Kids Deserve It, I read a little bit about this lunchtime DJ thing, and it was just a few sentences, and it mentioned that. I started thinking, lunchtime DJ, that's so new and interesting. So we developed the program as a part of a PBIS thing for our school, positive behavior support.
Right.
And what students do is, throughout the week, they earn concert tickets, which is just a ticket for showing positive behavior. And they put that ticket in the boom box. And then on Thursdays, we pick two names, one from lower L, one for upper L. And if your name is picked, you are the guest DJ with me on stage. And I have a whole playlist of, kids bop and various edited music. But we play some cool things. I've played some Mariah Carey Fantasy up in there. I'm not playing around. I get back my 90s throwbacks after
Exactly, yes!
So we get up there, we play music, they love to dance during lunchtime as well, but it's all their reward for showing such positive behavior throughout the week. And lunchtime DJ is one of the highlights of the week every single week. The kids love it, and our staff loves it too, because of the lunchtime behaviors that have just shot down. It's great to see them learning like that.
So how are the kids coming back? Like, how are the kids coming back from lunch? Are they like out of control, or have they gotten it all out?
Yeah, so funny that you said that. I actually found the very last song that I play every day is the Lion King Circle of Life remix. So it's kind of like an underground techno-y remix. And when they hear that song, they know, boom, it's time to clean up. I don't have to say anything. They all start cleaning up. They go back to their seats and they wait for their teacher. When their teacher shows up, they line up and they leave. It's been unbelievable.
Wow. That's so
that's how we do it.
Okay, so guys, you're listening to the podcast. I need other people to try this out, because this is so simple, but yet, I can imagine being a student and just being able to dance and have fun at lunch. Okay.
For sure.
That's super cool. I really, 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 really like that. So let me ask you, what's next for you? Like, where do you see yourself? Are you going to be in the classroom a while longer? And I hate that I even have to ask this, because people are always like when you're when people find out how awesome you are, the first inclination that a district has is take them out of the classroom. But really, it's like, no, they need to stay in the classroom. But so talk to us, like, what's next? Like, and even if it's not next, what would you envision that you would want to do next?
Yeah, so absolutely. I've had a lot of offers lately to leave the classroom, and that is not where my head is at. So anybody who's listening and who's thought that Mr. D is going to leave, no, he's not. He's not leaving.
Yay!
So I love teaching, and even more, I love being in the trenches with those kids and building that relationship with that little family unit of a classroom that I have every year. And that's really what's doing it for me in education right now. So I do not see myself leaving anytime soon. But my master's was in educational administration, and I did that with intention. I do plan eventually to make my way towards principalship, because I feel that so many teachers don't have the opportunity to be inspired and to be the best that they possibly can be for their kids. So as a principal, I feel that I can reach more students if I can reach more teachers, and if I can reach a building full of teachers and just say, hey, what types of things are you interested in this year? Okay, now what types of PD can I send you to this year that'll support that and inspire them to be the best that they can be? Then we're hitting more kids, So eventually, I would say, 3 to 5 years, that might be my plan. But for now, I'm super happy in the elementary classroom setting for sure.
That's so awesome. I'm so inspired. Like, I just want to send my kids to your elementary school. What grade do you teach? We didn't talk about that.
We didn't. I teach 4th grade.
Yay, my daughter's going to 4th grade next year. So, 4th grade, are you guys departmentalized?
We're not. So the
Okay.
only thing, we're actually a very small school.
Okay.
We have 2 of every grade level, K through 5. So my teaching, there's only 2 of each grade level. My teaching partner and I, we only switch for reading and writing. So I teach writing to all 4th grade, and she teaches reading to all 4th grade, and that's pretty much all we switch for.
Wow. So in addition to all of the fun things, you have to teach 4 content areas every day.
Yeah, I mean, and that's elementary ed, right? That's the challenge that we have. We have to teach a new subject every hour, so it's all about being prepared.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Okay, so before we get off the air, I want you to tell everybody, and we'll put this in the show notes, where can they find you? Tell them their YouTube, your Instagram, your website. Where can they find you? Where can they find you?
So for sure, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, you can find me with at Mr. D times 3. That's MRDTIMES, the number 3. That should take you to all my pages there. On YouTube, I'm Joe Dombrowski. And on Facebook, too, if you can't find using the at symbol, it's Joe Dombrowski -Mr. D.
Perfect. Guys, go check him out. Follow him. We'll put a link to his video from Ellen and his video from Mike, so you guys can see that. I just want to say thank you, because it's Friday afternoon here in Atlanta. I have battled traffic, and I feel energized. So I can imagine what the kids feel in your class.
That is awesome. You know what? That meant so much. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that.
It's no problem. And we will definitely be tuning in and sharing your videos. And just thank you. So hold on for just 1 second. Guys, thank you for joining us for another week of Conversations with Real Teachers. Next week, we have a surprise. We have a teacher turned couponer who is making a lot of people's lives easier. Join us next week.